Okay, I'm back tinkering with my homegrown. Let's see what's going on. Okay gang, welcome to the Hideout. Really appreciate you joining me today. I really want to say thank you to all the subscribers. And again, you hear it all the time. If you have not subscribed, please do. I greatly appreciate them. Kick the little ringy dingy over there. Kick it, click it, whatever you want to do. Get some notifications. Check out sgt1911.com. Okay, now. I've been working on some project. I've always got a project going on. Right now I probably have 4 or 5 projects, and you know how well those go. Sometimes they go better than others. Sometimes they cost more than they should, etc., etc. Back a few months ago, I gave you a look at a 1911 that I was working on, that I had completed it, and I had done a little trigger work and everything. But I get a little bored with nothing to do and sidetracked, and I said I want to do a little bit more. Here it is. Now what I've done so far is, you know, I've just got some grips on it. It's a standard 1911A1. I changed out the trigger, put a different trigger in it. I did checker the front of it myself with a file. That's about it. Now one thing I have done, I put an open mag well on it. And I've done that recently. This is, you've not seen this mag well, but I opened this mag well up and it's got beveled in there. It's got checkering on the back. You know, it's a store-bought deal. It's a little bit better than my checkering job, but to be honest, this is the first checkering job I've ever done. And that little checkering right there is probably better than no checkering at all. So anyway, what I'm gonna do today is, you know, I'm kind of want to do some experimenting with this Nighthawk drop-in trigger. Now you guys know I can't show you how to drop it in and disassemble and everything, but I am going to do the best job I can. But one thing I've got to show you is when I go to put this drop-in trigger in, I have to change the beaver tail. So I've got a Nighthawk Custom drop-in trigger thing, which is not the trigger itself. And we got a Wilson Combat beaver tail, and I have put a Kimber mag well in it. So we got a little bit of everything going on here, and I'm going to put it all together. I'm going to take it all apart, put it all together, and kind of give you an idea of what we're doing. And then what I hope we can do is drop in this kit and see if it actually does improve the trigger. Now what I'm going to do though, I'm going to go ahead and check my old school method of doing it. You know, my old school method consists of a little bit of sandpaper, and that's it. So, you know, it's quite affordable to do your own trigger job with sandpaper. Now let me pull it here, and let's see, so far, way out there, that's like a 6-pound trigger. So let's go right here and try it again. Let me see if I can get on there. Pull, pull, pull. Here we go, it's a 6.3. So we got just over a 6-pound trigger. Is that good? No, that ain't good. So what I need to do is pull this apart, get the sanding on it, polishing it, and see if we can make it better. But we're not gonna do that today. That's old school, which I'm old school, but I thought I would try one of these. So what I'm gonna do right now, we're gonna stop the video so we don't get popped. And I'm gonna take some things apart and lay them out so we can kind of show you what we're doing, and then we'll come back in just a minute. Okay gang, we're back in here, and what we're going to talk about is the Nighthawk Custom drop-in trigger. And this is a little bit deceiving because there's actually no trigger at all. So what I'm going to do to try to do a good job, I've disassembled the 1911 that I'm working on, and I want to show you what we're doing and what we're going to be replacing. So bear with me because I'm really going to try to give you some close-up views so you can understand this good. We may be a little blurry at times, and let us focus. Just be patient with us, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in here best we can, and we're going to talk about a few parts. Here's your trigger. This is the trigger bow. This is not the trigger that's in the 1911 we're working on because I really didn't want to take it out, but it could be. This is the trigger bow. This is the back of the trigger. Here's your disconnector. right here. Here's your sear. Here's your spring. Notice the 3 leaves, and here's the hammer. All right. The way this thing works inside your 1911, this little flat piece right here is what hits on your trigger bow. Here's your sear that sets like this, and the pin goes through and holds them together. Let me get them together like that. You got to imagine this pin going through your 1911 and holding these together. And I'm not going to do that, but that's the way it works. And you'll see this little lip right here on your sear. That's what catches on the hammer in these positions. This is fully cocked. This is half cocked. So what happens is when you pull the trigger, it pushes the disconnector backwards, which makes the sear rock forward and disengage. I got some kind of magnetic thing going on here. Let me try something else. So it pushes the disconnector back, makes the sear rock forward and disengages these lips right here. This little thing here is spring is down into the mainspring down at the bottom and throws the hammer forward, cocking it. So when we're going to look at this Nighthawk, let's zoom back out just a little bit. I want to open this box. This says it's a Nighthawk Custom 1911 drop-in trigger. Now what I want you to notice is there's no trigger in the box. We've got 2 pieces is all we've got. We've got this piece and we got this piece. Now I want to show you what we're doing. This one piece right here, this one spring replaces this spring, and it's just like that. And if you'll notice, this one has 3 leaves on it, this one has 1 leaf. This leaf here on the outside and this leaf here are the same leaf, and what those do, they actually hold your grip safety in place, and that's all they do. Without this spring here, your grip safety would not engage and your safety would not work. These other 2 springs here, this spring right here also rides to the back of the trigger, so you get some slippage where this hits the back of the trigger and some spring in it, and this one right here keeps tension down here on the disconnector to hold it in place. So if we're replacing disconnectors and sears and springs, most of this we don't even need. All we need is this one spring right here. Now let's go try to figure out the rest of it. Some of this is going to look familiar. Look at the different pieces here. I'm going to try to lay them together. Inside this thing, here's your hammer, here's your hammer. Here's your hammer strut, your hammer strut. Your sear and disconnector are in here, but they're confined in here and they're manufactured and stay in there under tension, spring tension, so that they're consistent every time. You can see right here the top of this disconnector coming out right here. Here's the original one, disconnector and sear. Here is the new disconnector. It's all built together on here. Now, before, the disconnector would ride here on the back of the trigger bow, and now it's going to ride here on the back of this mechanism. So what we've done is we've not really replaced the trigger at all. We have replaced the trigger and trigger strut. We replaced the disconnector and the sear, but really there's no trigger replacement at all. So technically, is it a trigger assembly drop-in trigger? It's not a trigger at all. It's the disconnector and the sear and the hammer all built into one, so they're consistently set and there's no moving parts to say that are not under the exact same tension every time. So technically I should get a consistent trigger pull every time. Now, is that true? I don't know. I've not done one of these. Are we fixing to do one? Yeah, we're fixing to do one. You know, the deal is with this thing, I think it's a good deal. It's not cheap though. You're talking about, you know, $300 to do a trigger job. If you send one off to a gunsmith, you're still talking $300 or more to have someone sit around and polish it with your sandpaper. What's the best way to do a trigger job? If you got the money, it may be this. If you don't have the money, or the best way to learn, just buy you a couple bucks worth of sandpaper and go have fun. You will learn more about the handgun by doing it yourself. And when you learn more about the handgun, how it's supposed to work, when if something happens and it does not function, it's probably a little bit easier to find it what's wrong with it. You know, if you know what is supposed to happening and it doesn't, you can narrow it down a little bit better. You're always good to do it that way. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to stop the video for a minute. I'm going to go back. I'm going to reassemble this with this end. But one thing else I want to point out real quick, I do have to change the beaver tail. Now the reason I have to change the beaver tail, on the original beaver tail, let me just open this up and I'll show you. On the original beaver tail, there is no room. See, look in here on this new beaver tail. It's got this cutout in here. See that hole right down in there? On the original beaver tail, we don't have that. And why don't we have that here? Well, we don't need it because of the shape of the hammer. This hammer here is going to drop down lower. So what's going to happen, I need to have room for that hammer to come down inside like that. With this one here, it wasn't going to do. So the hammer would not even get in a cock position. So we're going to have to replace this too in order to do this. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things, it's a necessary evil. So let's go ahead now and we'll just stop the video and come back in a few minutes and see if it actually works. All right, did a little magic, got it back together. Now, just a very quick review. Let's see what we did leave out. Remember, we got a new hammer and hammer strut. We got a new spring. We got a new disconnector, and we got a new sear. And that all was part of that 1 to 2 pieces. Remember, our spring still just had 1. So you'll see that it's in there now. You can see the new hammer. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cock it back and play with the trigger for a minute. Let's see what it does. Let me clear this. I'm going to try it maybe 2 or 3 times to see. So, pull, 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 pull. Yeah, that's 4 pounds. I'm not too pleased with that. Let's see what this does. Ready? That's 3.9. So it's dropped down. Try it again. Pull, pull, pull. That's 4.7. Man, I just don't, you know, let me try that again. Try it again. You know, for that kind of money, I'm looking at sandpaper. 4.5. You know, it dropped it probably 2 pounds. That's a little bit disappointing for as much money as you could spend on there. However, you know, it's not been used any. Maybe we could shoot it a few times and it worked better. We still could take this trigger out and polish that trigger some. I think that it's a great improvement. It's just, I don't see the value in that much money when I can do it myself with a little bit of sandpaper. I don't know. You know, I guess the proof's in the pudding though, after we go fire it and see, which we're not going to do today, but I bet we do soon. So until we get to shoot it together and try to shoot this thing and see what we can improve it a little bit more, right now, it's a 4-pound trigger. I can do that with sandpaper. So remember guys, when we get to shoot safe, shoot straight, hook.